Before plastic pumpkins and supermarket multi-packs, there was the Halloween we grew up with, the 1970s version. Paper cutouts curling on damp windows. A turnip lantern carved with a blunt spoon. A Woolworths mask that pinched and fogged but made you feel 10 feet tall. We carried pillowcases, not buckets. We bobbed for apples in tin tubs, soaked to the skin and laughing anyway. And the whole street joined in. Porch lights, glowing like beacons. Neighbours handing over toffees, wrapped in grease-proof paper with a wink. In the next few minutes, we'll revisit 20 traditions that made 1970s. Halloween's simple, warm, and just spooky enough. Keep watching to spot the banned 1974 toy that would never pass health and safety today, and the one treat that made your bag feel like treasure. If the 1970s were your childhood, this will feel like going home. Paper and cardboard decorations, snip, snip. The kitchen table became a craft bench. From Woolworths paper and old cereal boxes came arched-back cats, broomstick witches, and grinning pumpkins. Taped to windows so the lamplight cast eerie silhouettes onto the front room walls. Children strung coloured paper chains and dried leaves along banisters. A 3D fold-out witch swayed when the door opened. Fragile and flammable, they curled in the damp and singed near the fire, yet nothing matched their charm. Vinyl banners and LEDs arrived later, brighter perhaps, but never as tender as those homemade ghosts that fluttered with every draft. Turnip or pumpkin lanterns, cold hands, dull spoon, stubborn turnip. The old way was work, but the reward was magic. In many homes, pumpkins from the greengrocer slowly replaced the traditional neep, yet both ended as guardians on the step. Wonky smiles, candle stubs, flickering and dripping wax onto saucers. Seeds roasted with salt, rattled in trays, a once-a-year treat that tasted of bonfire night and wet wool. Fetes and church halls ran carving contests. Pride shone in every uneven grin. By the late 70s, fire warnings nudged families toward torches and plastic shells, and a little of the warmth went out with the flame. Plastic masks from the high street opened the Woolies bag, and that sharp, plasticky whiff hits first. A brittle mask, witch, mummy, vampire, held on by stringy elastic that pinched the neck and steamed up with every breath. The vinyl tabard matched the face, and suddenly you were someone else, even if the eye holes never quite lined up. They were cheap, cheerful, and a bit perilous near candles. Fire safety campaigns and better standards brought in softer, safer masks. Comfort improved, but that delicious, slightly daft thrill of peering through foggy slits into a spooky night is hard to replace. Homemade. Costumes. Make-do magic. A sheet became a ghost, a cardboard box, a robot, a curtain, a cape. Dad fetched foil and bottle tops. Mum pinned hems and drew moustaches with eyeliner. The sitting room floor was a scatter of thread, paper, and laughter. School parades prized imagination over money, and every costume told a family story. By the 80s, ready-mades from C&A and the catalogue made things easier but less personal. Those evenings of quiet industry, the radio murmuring, kettle whistling, stitched memories tighter than any shop-bought seam. Unsupervised, trick-or-treating dusk fell and we slipped out in packs with pillowcases and paper bags, following the glow of porch lights. Knock, chant, grin, shuffle to the next. Neighbours admired costumes, offered toffees, and swapped a joke at the gate. Routes were guessed, not mapped. Time ended when the last light clicked off. Later came curfews, busy roads, and watchful parents. Sensible, perhaps, but if you remember the soft rush of independence and the trust woven through those streets, you know why it still feels golden. Pillowcase, sweet bags. The humble pillowcase was king. Soft, bottomless, and tough enough to scrape along pavements without tearing. It swallowed chocolate coins, toffees, penny chews, and apples till your arm ached, and the clink sounded like treasure. Children compared hauls and boasted about the weight. After safety scares, reflective bags and molded buckets took over, easy to spot in the dark and simple to clean. Practical, yes, but nothing held the promise of just one more street quite like that sagging, irresistible sack. Mischief night. On the 30th, a whisper of rebellion moved through northern streets and village lanes. Loo roll fluttered on hedges, soap squeaked over windows, a pumpkin vanished, only to reappear on a neighbour's doorstep. It was a communal wink. Don't go too far, but a little chaos is understood. Later years brought CCTV, stricter policing, and insurance worries. The gentle prank gave way to caution. For those who lived it, the memory still crackles like a damp firework. Naughty, nervous, and strangely unifying. Eggs and shaving foam. Common cupboards supplied the mischief. Eggs for a comic splat, shaving foam for a ghostly smear across a bonnet or garden gate. Dawn smelled faintly of sulphur and soap. Red faces gave way to rueful chuckles. It was cheek, not malice, and the telling was half the fun. New bylaws, fines, and neighbourhood watch schemes gradually squeezed the game away. A sticky little chapter, yes, but one that reminds us how communities once weathered a prank with a shrug and a cloth. Unwrapped, homemade treats. Wax paper crinkled and warmth wafted up. Treacle toffee, coconut pyramids, rock buns still soft from the oven. Ingredients cost pennies, the flavour was affection. Before suspicion took hold, homemade meant, from our kitchen to yours, the sweetest kind of hospitality. Rumours and warnings in the 70s moved families to factory-sealed packets and careful checks. Sensible again, but if you've unwrapped a neighbour's toffee by the fireside, you know how trust used to taste. Apple bobbing. A tin washtub, cold tap water, a tumble of shiny apples. Hands locked behind backs. Chins plunged, hair soaked, squeals ricocheted round the hall. The winner bit, lifted, and grinned through dripping teeth like a conquering hero. It was ancient, communal, and gloriously messy. Hygiene rules, school policies, and allergy concerns nudged it off the program, but the memory remains. Cheeks numb, sleeves sodden, and laughter ringing like church bells. Caramel apples and popcorn balls. Golden syrup bubbled on the hob while apples waited, skewered and shiny. A careful dip, a glossy spin, then onto greaseproof to set. Popcorn got the sticky treatment too, pressed into warm, knobbly globes that clung to fingers. Wrapped in parchment, stacked in biscuit tins, they tasted of harvest and home. Headlines, guidelines, and sealed sweets sent them quietly away from doorsteps. The recipe cards may be smudged, but one sniff of syrup and autumn comes flooding back. Full-sized chocolate bars. Sometimes generosity made a soft thud. The whole dairy milk, not a meagre square. A single bar could anchor a night's haul and settle playground trades for days. Prices rose, fun size arrived, and household budgets tightened. The big bar became a rare windfall. Smaller treats are practical and fair, but that glorious weight in the bag, the feeling of being properly spoiled, belongs to a kinder arithmetic of the past. Homemade haunted houses, not theme parks. The best scares lurked in real places, drafty church halls, dusty attics, disused sheds made theatrical with sheets, torches, jam jar candles, and a cassette of wails. Floors creaked honestly. Cobwebs might be genuine. Scouts, youth clubs, and church groups raised pennies, while gooseflesh rose on arms. Fire regulations, liability, and insurance ended much of it. Safe venues are sensible, yet that musty, heart-thumping authenticity is hard to buy. Blindfold, touch and guess. Eyes covered, hand outstretched, the mind ran wild. Cold spaghetti became guts, peeled grapes, eyeballs, damp sponge, a brain. Shrieks broke into relieved laughter with each reveal. It was perfect, rainy evening fun. Cheap, silly, shared. Concerns about allergens and hygiene gradually pushed it aside. But anyone who played can still feel the squeamish thrill in their fingertips. Spooky goop and monster makeup. A cardboard lab, tiny pots and tubes, and a promise: mix, smear, transform. Children brewed harmless horrors, warts, scars, ooze, copying film monsters in the mirror while adults feigned shock. Safety standards tightened, and many kits vanished, later resurfacing as gentler face paints. The mess and the chemistry were half the joy. A towel round the shoulders and a proud shuffle to the front door completed the spell. Halloween at school. For one day, the classroom turned orange and black. Paper bats swooped over double windows, squash and fairy cakes appeared. Monster Mash spilled from the record player. A parade around the playground crowned the most imaginative, not the most expensive. In time, schools shifted to broader autumn themes and tighter rules on food and faith. The party shortened, but those bright assemblies live on. Sugar-dusted smiles and a head teacher in a silly hat. That's the spell of those Halloweens. Handmade, slightly haphazard, and stitched together with trust. They weren't perfect, but they felt personal. If these memories stirred a glow, keep them close. Tell the stories, pass a recipe, snip a paper bat for the window, and light, safely, something small against the dark.